Okay, so good morning, everyone. And in order to prepare ourselves for Tisha B'Av, obviously Tisha B'Av has so many different aspects. You have the issues of the Khurban itself, the reasons for the Khurban, as much as we can understand reasons, the consequences of the Khurban, the lessons from the Khurban, the laws of that comes as a result of the Khurban, of the destruction. So obviously we have so many different topics. But one of the topics that I would like to revisit, because I think I shared with you once some of this source sheet, but I would like to revisit it today and to, I think, present a different and a fresh perspective, is lack of leadership. But not only lack of leadership, we need to understand that obviously this is one of the topics that we all, I think, experience recently. But it's not only that, it's, I think, we need to understand that when there is a lack of leadership, there is a different leadership. Meaning by not having anything, it doesn't mean that it's empty. There are going to be others who are going to take the lead, and most of the times it's not great. So what I would like to do is to take a very famous Gemara in Gittin, Daf Nun Vav, that I'm sure all of you saw at least once in your life, if not more, and to challenge our understanding of it and to try to derive some new and fresh perspectives. So that's what we're going to do today. And I will share the screen with you. As you see, there is the Hebrew. And if someone wants to follow along with the English, I will translate. But if someone wants to follow along with the English, you can just scroll down and you will have the English for this Gemara. So the Gemara in Gittin in Daf Nun Hey, 55b and 56a says the following. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, מאי דכתיב, אשרי אדם מפחד תמיד, ומקשה ליבו ייפול ברעה. So Rabbi Yochanan asked the question. He asked, what is the meaning of the Pasuk? Ashrei Adam mefached tamid. Praiseworthy is the person who is always afraid, and someone who is hard in his heart will fall in evil or will fall in a trap. Now, before we continue, we need to know that many times Amoraim, mainly Amoraim, will take a Pasuk and will ask the question in terms of meaning. What is the meaning of a specific Pasuk? Now, I want to call your attention to, and I'll try even to do it here, I can't. Okay, I want to call your attention that everything that comes later after this statement is basically an attempt to explain the meaning of this Pasuk. Which means sometimes when you read Gemara, you read a question and say, this is a question. Then there is an Agadata, there is a story. So you focus on the story and you forget there is a title. The title of this Gemara is Rabbi Yochanan is asking a question in the Beit Midrash, or he's asking himself. He's asking what? He's asking, I want to know what is the meaning of this Pasuk. So remember the Pasuk. Ashrei Adam mefached tamid. Praiseworthy is the person who is always afraid, concerned, maybe even terrified, it depends. And then umakshe libo, and someone who is hard in his heart, which sounds like what? Paro, right? Someone who is hard in his heart. He will fall in a trap, or he will fall in a pit, or in evil, whatever it is. So now the Gemara is trying to explain it. So I'm skipping a bit, and it says like that. Akamtza uvar kamtza charu Yerushalayim. So the Gemara says to you, the meaning of this pasuk is because of the story about Kamtza and Bar Kamtza. Da'u gavra derachme Kamtza, uval deva ve'Bar Kamtza. So there is a guy that we don't know his name. He has a friend by the name of Kamtza, and his enemy was Bar Kamtza. Now, by the way, just as a trivia knowledge, we don't know. If I would ask you, what's the name of the person who invited everyone for the meal? Your answer will be what? We don't know. We don't know the name of the person who his friend was Kamtza and his enemy was Bar Kamtza. So this guy avad seudata, so he made a meal. Amar le lesham'e, so he told his servant, Zil aiti le Kamtza, bring me my friend Kamtza. I zil aiti le Bar Kamtza. Now, I want to ask you a question before we continue. What's the story? The story is that Mr. X told his servant, I'm making a meal, I'm making a party. I would like you to please invite my friend, my best friend, Kamsa. The guy goes ahead and instead of inviting Kamsa, he invites whom? Bar Kamsa, who is an enemy. I want to ask you a question. What, he did it purposely or he did it unintentionally? What do you think? Did you ask yourself this question? I'm asking my servant to do something. There is Kamsa and there is Bar Kamsa. Unless you tell me that they are twins and they live in the same house, okay, one of them is in that address, one of them is in that address. When I tell my servant, go ahead and invite my friend Kamsa, if he was in my house, I would assume, even if he's a new servant, okay, he would ask, okay, what's the address? Like, where should I go? And if he knows that Kamsa is the guy, he's my friend, so he will go and invite him. Why would he invite Bar Kamsa? Did you ask yourself that question? No. So now you are asking this morning, Boker Tov to everyone. Everyone should be awake. It's 9:23. I gave you another 15 minutes to sleep. It's not me. Torah Mitzion decided to move it to 9:15. So you had another 15 minutes to sleep or to have coffee. Phil, it seems to be that you are taking responsibility for another 15 minutes. So
I was going to shul.
Going to shul, okay.
So people could daven at our shul.
Okay, so Phil, thank you very much.
And Thursdays, leaning Torah, Kriyas Torah.
It's a little longer. Okay, so thank you, Phil. But let's go back to the question. Phil gave you another minute to think about my question. Why is this servant didn't do his job? Chazaka shaliach oseh shlichuto, right? The Gemara says that chazaka, that the servant or a shaliach, an agent, an emissary is doing his job.
He made him stupid, that's all.
Okay, Phil says, and this is the basic answer that I would give as well, the guy was not as intelligent, and he heard Kamsa, Bar Kamsa, whatever, seems to be the same, so he says, you know what, I'll just invite him. He was lazy, and he was not that smart. That's one.
You could argue that he was intentionally doing it in order to eventually embarrass Bar Kamsa.
Okay.
To take revenge on him. I don't think that's the clear meaning, but that's a possibility.
Okay, so very good. So another possibility is this shaliach is not that stupid or not intelligent. The guy is an instigator. He hates his master, or maybe he doesn't, but he just say, you know what? This is a great opportunity to embarrass my master. I'm going to bring his enemy and let's see how he responds. Okay, what he would do? Fire me? Okay, who cares? Okay, very good. Second possibility. Third possibility, Danny.
Maybe he's trying to stage a reconciliation.
Oh, very good. This is what I will call the good doers. You know, he thinks he can bring peace and harmony to everyone. He's bringing the enemy to the meal, and he is going to create an incredible environment of harmony and unity and peace, and he is going to save Yerushalayim, right? Okay, very good. Third possibility. Fourth possibility. Yes, Noach, you need to unmute. You need to unmute. I can't hear you.
If he were a loyal servant, he would know the difference between the two. It wasn't a mistake. You're right.
Okay, so Noach supports the possibility that it was not a mistake. It was not just beshogeg, unintentionally. The guy knew what he does. I'll give you a fifth possibility. Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. What is Bar Kamsa?
Ben,
the son of Kamsa. Did you ever thought that maybe Kamsa and Bar Kamsa are father and son? Which seems to be the simple possibility. Because Kamsa and Bar Kamsa, like Rava, like I don't know, Ashi and Bar Ashi. Okay, so it's a father and a son, which means, interestingly enough, you can have that the father was a friend and the son was an enemy. And it might be that they lived in the same house. Meaning between them, between the father and the son, they were great. But when in regards or in reference to the guy who made the party, the meal, one of them was his friend, one of them was his enemy. Why? I don't know. Maybe he bullied his son. I don't know why. But the thing is that now we can say that the shaliach, he went to the house. He knew Kamsa, Bar Kamsa, whatever it is. It might be now I'm creating another possibility. Look what we did, creating 5 possibilities just at the beginning of the story. It might be that the agent knew exactly that Bar Kamsa is not great. But you know what? He came to the house and says, where is your father? He says to him, I don't know where's my father. He says to him, you know what? Here is an invitation for the meal. And, you know, your father needs to come. Bar Kamsa, the son, says to himself, my father is out of town for business, or maybe he's not here, or whatever it is. I'll go. I will go. Why would I go? Oh, all possibilities are open. I want to embarrass him. I want to nudge him. Or you know what? Maybe I want to create some kind of reconciliation. Or, and now I'm going to say that, this is a meal of, if you are an important person, you want to be there. Why am I saying that? I'll tell you in a minute. This is a meal. This is not bagel and lax. Okay, this is not a morning breakfast of Beit Midrash Boker. Okay, we are talking about a meal, and everyone who is who and who in the society is invited there. You don't want to miss it. So if you get an invitation and your father is not at home, you are taking the opportunity to be there, because if you are not there, you are going to be missed. Now, why am I saying that? Because of the continuation of the sipur, of the story. So now we have 5 possibilities of why this Bar Kamsa shows up. Because there is one more question that we need to ask. If I am, and the Gemara describe it as Baal Devave, which means enemy. I mean, this is a very strong language. If I am your enemy, you hate me and I hate you. Sorry for the very extreme language, not dislike. Baal Devave is hate. It's not just dislike. If I know that you hate me and I hate you, why would I go to your party? Like, makes no sense. So we need to open up those possibilities. So now take a look at the Gemara. So the Gemara continues on and says, Ata ashkeche deha veyativ. Amar le, so Ata ashkeche, so who is Ata? Who came? Who came?
Bar Kamsa.
Let's read all of it. Ata ashkeche deha veyativ. So he came and he saw that he sat there. Who is the he?
The host, the
Okay.
Baal Habayit.
The host, the Baal Habayit. Okay, hold on for your thought, because let's see. Amarle, he said to him, we don't know yet who said to whom, Mich de'ahu gavra, Baal devava de'ahu gavrahu, ma bait acha, kum puk. So he says to him, this guy is the enemy of the Baal Habayit. What are you doing here? Get out of here. Who said it to Bar Kamsa?
יכול להיות המשרת.
The same guy who invited him?
He said, give this to your father, but he didn't give it to his father. He took it for himself.
Do you see what's going on here? Do you see when you have a fresh mind and you look at the story different, you start asking good questions? 1 second, there is a conversation here, but we don't understand the conversation. This guy comes along and he sees that he sits there. And he says to him, what are you doing here? You are the enemy of the Baal Habayit. Get out of here. It means, and I would like to suggest the following possibility. The Shaliach gave the invitation, like what my 5th possibility, my 5th option, that the Shaliach gave Bar Kamsa the invitation for his father. But Bar Kamsa, the son, maybe just, try to play funny, or maybe he want to seize the opportunity, or what I said before, this is a high power political meal. He wants to be there. He's not going to miss it. So he sits there, and the Shaliach says to himself, oh my God, I know you are the enemy number 1 of my master. If he see that you sit here, he is going to what? To go after me. I'm going to lose my job. Get out of here. Before he sees it, get out of here right now. It's not the Baal Habayit. The Baal Habayit has no name. The Baal Habayit basically says to the agent, yeah, I know it sounds like, okay, don't shoot the agent, right? Don't shoot the Shaliach, but don't shoot the messenger. But the messenger is a problem. He did something wrong, and now he's trying to cover up for his misdeeds. So now, says
it could be another.
what?
You could be another servant. This is all the important rabbis were there.
Before the important rabbis. 1 second, Phil. Don't skip.
I'm saying that in a big deal, another servant could have been there who said, doesn't have to be the same guy who was the shliach. It could be another guy.
Okay. It might be another shaliach who knows that, you know what, this guy is not a friend, he's an enemy. He needs to get out of here before the master sees him. I agree. So we can have the same guy or the different guy. Amale, so Bar Kamsa says to one of those servants, Oil ve'ati shavkan. I'm already here. Leave me alone. Just let me be. V'yayvna lach dami ma de'achilna v'shatina. I'll pay for my meal. Okay, I'll pay for my meal. Amale. Now, you know what? Before I go, I want to ask you a question. This guy, Bar Kamsa, says to the servant, let me stay, and I'll pay for my meal. Isn't that a little childish? Is that the issue? Money? Is money the issue here, or the hate is an issue?
The shame is the issue.
No, before the shame. The guy says to him, get out of here. He says to him, no, let me be and I'll pay for my meal. It's not about paying the meal. My master hates you. You can pay for the entire meal. And that's, by the way, what he's trying to do. I'm not buying it. I don't need your money.
Maybe it's a bribe to the servant to let him sit in the corner, no one will notice him, and I'll pay you and you can get the money.
Oh, okay. Very good. One possibility is, who is speaking? I don't see the person who
Chuck Friedman.
Oh, hey, Charles. So the thing is, it might be one possibility is that he is saying to the servant, I'll bribe you. I'll pay you for the meal. And it's between us. I'll sit here quietly. No one needs to pay attention. It's a big meal. There are so many people here. No one is going to see me. Okay. And also maybe because he's the son of Kamsa, he might have maybe similar features. So maybe people can, get confused, whatever. I'm just sitting here. Let me be. Another possibility is that Bar Kamsa, and this is just a theory, Bar Kamsa became an enemy of the master of the meal because of money issues. And Bar Kamsa says to the servant, let me be. And if your master is upset that I'm here, I'll pay for the meal, okay? Your guy is such a stingy person, okay? If that's what he's worried about, I'll pay for my meal, okay? So we have two possibilities. So now he says to him, Amar lelo. So the shaliach says to him, the servant says to him, no, get out of here. Amar le yahivna lach dmei palga de sudatich. I'll give half of the meal. Amar lelo. Amar le yahivna lach dmei kule sudatich. I'll pay for the entire meal. I'll give you a tremendous bribe, or I'll just pay for the master. Amar lelo. Beyade ve'ukme ve'apke. So the servant basically took him by the hand and got him out of the meal. Now, before I continue on, who is missing in this story? Who is missing? Who said it? David, okay. True, Baal Habayit is missing. He is in charge on the meal. But he is the one who is not named. He sends the shaliach and then he goes somewhere else. If we talk about lack of leadership and ownership, the first one who is missing as a leader is the Baal Habayit. He doesn't check the guest list. He doesn't see if his agent, if his emissary is doing his job. He's not even seeing what's going on. Just think about it. My assumption is that the servant went to Bar Kamsa and said to him quietly, you know what, get out of here. And he says to him quietly, you know what, I'll pay for my meal. And the guy says to him, no, get out. And he says to him, I'll pay half of the meal. And then it probably seems to be what? That the voices are becoming louder, right? It seems to, this is normal. This is, you go to a meal and you see someone that you don't like and you ask him to leave. So you ask him once quietly. Second, you're raising your voice. Third, you are really screaming. And there is like a little tumult around one of the tables, right? Because he doesn't sit by himself. And the balabait, now you can tell me, yeah, maybe the balabait was in the restroom. Okay, maybe he sat in a different table, he couldn't hear it. But the idea is that there is something wrong going on in your own home and you don't pay any attention to it. The balabait is the first one who is not involved at all. And a way to substantiate my claim is take a look what the Gemara says. Amar, Bar Kamsa says, Oil vehavu yatvei rabanan velo machu be shma mina kanicha lehu. So Bar Kamsa says the rabbis were there. They saw what was going on, and they did not rebuke this shaliach, this servant, not to get me out. So you know what? They're probably happy with it. So now, Izil, I'll go, Ichol behu kurza the Roman to the Roman Caesar or to the Roman governor in Israel. Now, before we go further, I want to stop to tell you a few things. First and foremost, we know that the rabbis were there. We know that there was some kind of relationship between the wealthy people in Jerusalem and the rabbis. They supported them, and the rabbis were invited to that meal. That's one. B, this guy is oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy says he's upset with whom? With the rabbis. He should have been upset with whom? The first one he should be upset with should be whom? The balabait. Why the balabait doesn't stop his servant? But it seems to be that the balabait is a non-entity. He's probably a very wealthy guy. He throw a party. He invite the rabbis are there, and it's probably the leading rabbis. And Bar Kamsa says, I don't care about this balabait. He's not around. I care about the rabbis. They didn't say anything. So obviously, it seems to be that it made a scene. Maybe there was a tumult around the table and the rabbis were quiet. So that's one. B, this guy, Bar Kamsa, says, I am going to meet the Roman Caesar and I'm going to basically, create a balagan, a chaos. I will create something harmful to those people. From the fact that a Jew can just go ahead and meet the Roman general or the Roman Caesar, what can we learn about that Jew? What can we learn about Bar Kamsa?
He had connections.
He had connections. He was probably highly connected to, I don't know, probably the highest level in Roman government, which means he was wealthy. The Romans were not friends with people who were impoverished or too many Talmidei Chachamim. They were connected to the elite, wealth. So therefore, we can understand now that my theory from the get-go is, this is a guy, the balabait, with that he's unnamed, very wealthy, throw a party, wonderful, the rabbis are coming. You need to be there. You want to be in that party. Bar Kamsa wants to be there. And I think that the possibility that he just took advantage and he just took an invitation that does not belong to him, it might be a good probability. And he is there and he's being forced to get out. And there is, and this is an additional, not theory, but an additional layer to the theory, is that basically Bar Kamsa and the rabbis and everyone, there is, I would say, I don't want to say, I would say that there is an expectation from the rabbis that Bar Kamsa knew. He had an expectation from them that they will stand up for him. But if they will stand up for him, let's just play it. Let's say the rabbis will stand up and say, look, we're not going to make a motzi until Bar Kamsa is allowed to stay in the meal. What would you think will happen?
He would be allowed to stay.
one possibility. Chuck, that was a very nice possibility. I think I have a different possibility, which is not that nice.
Yeah, the Balabayit would be angry with the Rabbanim.
Okay, they will create tension between the Balabait and the rabbis. The Balabait will say, you are my guests. You can tell me who to invite and who not to invite. This guy, Bar Kamsa, is my enemy. He, I don't know, he lied to me in business, or he, I don't know, bullied my son, or he divorced my daughter, whatever it was, whatever tension was between the master, the Balabait, and Bar Kamsa. You cannot tell me who to invite and who not to invite. And B, I never invited him. That was a mistake of the servant. So Bar Kamsa, think about it now. He says, I'm upset with the rabbis that they didn't stand up for me. If they would, it will create tension between them and the Balabait. So what was Bar Kamsa's expectation? Does he have any realistic expectation, or he's just upset?
It depends who was richer.
Oh, okay. So Phil, I don't know if you said it half jokingly or half seriously or both.
Both.
The thing is both. Okay, so I will take both, because it might be that Kamsa and Bar Kamsa represents very wealthy family. Kamsa is a friend of the Balabait, and maybe they do business together. I'm sure all of them support the rabbis. Each one of them think, and I will say it in a very crude way, each one of them think that the rabbis are in his back pocket. He controls the rabbis. Without him, the rabbis will disappear. There will be no koilel, there will be no yeshiva, there will be no Jewish day school, there will be no JCC, and there will be no shul without me. And I expect the rabbis to stand up for me. The problem is that the rabbis, if they stand up for him and they stand up for him, they will lose from both ends. But Bar Kamsa thought, I just gave them donation last week, they owe me. But the rabbis didn't tell him that they received the donation from the Balabait just 5 days ago, and they are invited to his meal. Now, why am I creating for you all those scenarios? Just because of one important thing that I want to convey, which is, again, for the second time in a row in this story, there is expectation and disappointment, lack of leadership. Everything I told you is true. The rabbis are really in a very bad place. If they will stand up for Bar Kamsa, they will have problems with the Balabait. If they will stand up for the Balabait, they have a problem with Bar Kamsa. So what do? They keep quiet. They don't do anything. They ignore the situation. The first time that someone ignored a situation was the Balabait. And it caused what? The servant to get into fight with Bar Kamsa. Second time is the leaders, the rabbis, who have some kind of an expectation that they will stand up for what is moral and what is ethics and what is right. They are quiet. And when they are quiet and there is no leadership, obviously, what is the end result of it? Bar Kamsa goes ahead and endanger the entire society now. The entire Kehillah is now under tremendous risk. So now, Azal, Bar Kamsa went, Amar le Caesar, so he went to the Caesar, to the Roman Caesar. Mar dubach Yehudai, the Jews rebel against you. Amar le mi Yeimar, how do you know? Amar le Shadar leu korbana, go ahead, send them a korban, send them a sacrifice, send them an animal to sacrifice. So, and see if they really will sacrifice this korban for you. So the Roman Caesar gave to Bar Kamsa egla tilta, which is like a good lamb. So the Jews will sacrifice it. Behadi dekaati. So when Bar Kamsa led this little lamb to the Beit HaMikdash, Shada bemuma beniv sfatayim, so he put a blemish in his lips, ve'amri le bedukin sheba'ain, or maybe in his eye, dukta deledidan havemuma veledidu lav mumahu. So in a place that for us, for the Jews, this is a blemish, and we cannot bring it as a korban. But for the goyim, it's not considered as what? As a blemish. Now, before I continue on, do you see any, what do they call it? I'll call it like that, a full circle between this stage in the story and the beginning of the story? Do you see any similarity between the real beginning and this stage? Maybe I'll clarify. I will repeat a sentence from the Gemara. The Caesar, the Roman Caesar, gave Bar Kamsa the korban to bring it to Yerushalayim. What does that sound like?
Shlichut.
Shlichut. Exactly. Bar Kamsa is now becoming a what? A shaliach. The Roman Caesar, he's just sitting wherever he sits, and he's testing it. So he's sending Bar Kamsa, which is, by the way, a little silly, because why would you give it to him, right? This guy comes to tell you that the Jews rebel against you and you don't really believe him, so you want to test it. So you give him the sacrifice. But Bar Kamsa is the shaliach. And what does Bar Kamsa do? He changes his shlichut. He changes his shlichut. Now, interestingly, that sounds like what?
Can I ask a question here, Rav Shai? It's Mike Steiner.
Yes.
Bar Kamsa is also a Jew. Doesn't it seem peculiar that a Jew himself has come to tell the Caesar that the Jews are causing a problem with the Caesar? Maybe he's not such a good Jew. Maybe he bad-mouthed the Jews before to the Caesar. It seems peculiar that a Jew would say the Jews are causing you problems.
Mike, asking a good question. Now, there are enough examples in Jewish history that Jews were really the troublemakers and created terrible, terrible pogroms and all sorts of things against the Jews. I mean, we know, for example, even in the time of Sreifat Talmud in 1240, 1242 in France, when they burned 20 wagons filled with manuscripts of Talmud and everything, it was done because one of the Jews who became a convert, and I forgot his name. So he was the one who basically told the king and the Catholic king that the Talmud is filled with statements against Jesus. Okay, and then they read the Talmud and they decided to burn it. Okay, so we find many places the Jews were our own worst enemies. Okay, so that's not such such an exception. But you need to ask yourself, maybe a different question is, what's the gain?
To whom?
For Bar Kamsa. I mean, all the Jews will be killed, because all the Jews will be rebellious, okay, and they will be killed, and then what it will do with you? Okay, so let's say you are going to be saved. Okay, so the Roman Caesar will tell you, hey Jew, hey Bar Kamsa, you come and sit in Rome because you told me the truth about those Jews. Okay, no. So his father is going to be killed, his mother is going to be killed, his brothers and sisters are going to, what's the gain? So
But that's history.
Oh, okay. Very good. So sometimes
it happens.
Okay, so it might be that what the gain is, like tamut nafshi im plishtim. They were so horrible to me. Everyone should go. I don't care about I'm going to burn the bridge. Okay, I don't care. I don't mind. That's it. I'm done.
No, the
Revenge
rabbi was sitting there.
Revenge is a very strong incentive.
Okay, right, Nahon, revenge. He doesn't think about it anymore. He's doing it. Or, and this is another possibility, is that Bar Kamsa, is obviously doing something which requires some knowledge. He's making a blemish in this sacrifice in a place that for the Jews is a blemish, and for the non-Jews it's not a blemish. And he is going to bring it to the rabbis, right? Now he knows that halachically they will need to reject it. However, realistically, they can't reject it. They know the consequences of rejecting it. So what is he trying to do?
Yeah.
He is trying to push them to make a decision.
Yeah.
He wants, don't forget, the story is that there is lack of leadership. There is no decision anywhere. And don't forget that Rabbi Yochanan is still looking for the meaning of the Pasuk. Ashrei Adam mefached tamid, umakshe libo yipol bera'ah. Praiseworthy is the person who is always concerned, and someone who is hard in his heart will fall in a trap. So now take a look. The story says he brings the korban, and now we have the Rabbanan. Savu Rabbanan likruve mishum shlo malchut. So the rabbi said, you know what, we should probably bring it because, if not, the Roman Caesar will be upset with us. Amaru Rab Zcharia ben Avikalus. So Rab ben Avikalus says, no, we can't. Why? Yomru, people would say, Ba'alei mumin krevin hamizbeach. They will say that you are allowed to bring animals with blemish to the mizbeach. Savu lemiktele. So you know what, let's kill him. Let's kill Bar Kamza. So he will not tell the Roman Caesar. דלא לייזל ולמה. אמר לו רב זכריה, יאמרו, מטיל מום בקודשים ייהרג. So what do we have here? We have a conversation between the rabbis and Rab Zcharia ben Avikalus, who was, by the way, anyone knows who was Rab Zcharia ben Avikalus? He was, according to the biography and everything, he was probably one of the head rabbis of the Kanaim, the bullies in Yerushalayim, who basically pushed for what?
Rebellion.
A war against the Romans. So the rabbis says the first thing that comes to their mind is, let's bring it. I know halachically it's not right, but you know what? The Roman Caesar is going to kill us. So let's bring it as a sacrifice. Rab Zcharia ben Avikalus says, no, you can't do that. Why can't you? Because people would say, you can bring animals with a blemish. So that's against the halacha, we'll have a problem. So the rabbi says, you know what, let's kill Bar Kamza. Bar Kamza is a malshin, is a moiser. We need to kill him. We can't kill him. Halachically, it's allowed. Rab Zcharia ben Avikalus says, no, we can't kill him. Why can't we kill him? Because people would say that if I put a blemish in an animal, I should deserve death, and that's non-halachic. That's not according to the halacha. So now what is missing here?
Willingness to take a decision.
The what?
Leadership.
A willingness to take a decision, to make a decision.
Very good. No one is making a decision. The rabbi suggests something. Rab Zcharia ben Avikalus rejects it. Again, there is another suggestion. Then there is another rejection. And then you are like waiting and you are like hanging there. Okay, so no. So what should I do? As the Gemara says, my haviala. Okay, so what's the conclusion? Okay, I said something, you said no. I said something, you said no. No, okay, offer something. But he doesn't. I would like to suggest one more thing. It might be, and listen to me please until the end, that there is also a historical background here. The mentioning of Rab Zcharia ben Avikalus as the head of the bullies, the spiritual rabbi of the bullies in Yerushalayim, the extremist who wants to push for a rebellion against the Romans. It might be that Bar Kamza supported this movement. And that's why he was the Balabait's enemy. The Balabait invited the rabbis, the moderate rabbis. He invited, his friends, the rabbis, because most of the rabbis were against the extremists in Yerushalayim. We know it. The famous Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was against it. So most of the rabbis didn't like it. The one who liked it was Rab Zcharia ben Avikalus. And maybe, when Bar Kamza basically was pushed out from the meal, and I ask you, what's the benefit? The benefit in his mind was, I am going to use that as an opportunity for what? For a forced war against the Romans. Meaning, I am going to go to the Roman Caesar, tell them the Jews rebelled against you. I will create this rebellious, Because what I do now is that I put the rabbis in an impossible situation again. Why? If they will say to bring the sacrifice, people will lose credibility. They will say, the rabbis are just afraid from the Roman Caesar and they changed the halacha because of the Roman Caesar. If they will say not to bring it, or if they will say to kill me, I know someone is going to protect me, Rabbi Shai ben Avikalus. And I know those rabbis, they will not come up with a decision. The Roman Caesar will hear that the Jews didn't bring his sacrifice. What would you think he would do? He will send the troops. And then the Jews will be forced to fight. So you're asking me, what's the gain? The gain is mission accomplished. Bar Kamsa is basically has the deal. He is going to make those Jews fight. And Harold, yes.
Okay. I want to offer a different reading of all this, because the premise of this construct that you develop is the interaction between Bar Kamsa and somebody at the party who was unnamed. So we really don't know who that is. It's possibility that it is the person who's giving the party. It is the host, because that's a possibility. And therefore, there could be an interaction between Bar Kamsa and the host. And what Bar Kamsa is reacting to is the fact that the rabbis can see that there is this and are allowing Sinat Chinam to exist, because they can see it and they're doing nothing about it. So therefore, Bar Kamsa is saying the entire system here is corrupt. The Rabbanim see Sinat Chinam beferish, and they're doing nothing about it. The entire system is corrupt, and he is it within his right to say this needs to change. Now, you go back to the Pasuk, Umatshe libo yipo rabara, that Bar Kamsa maybe had the right idea in criticizing the rabbinic system for not calling out Sinas Chinam, but he hardened his heart and bad things came about. In other words, he went about it perhaps in the wrong way, but perhaps we can say that his motive and his analysis of the situation was spot on, was absolutely correct, that the Rabbanim did not do what they should be, regardless of who's funding the yeshivas and who's funding the kollel. So that would be an alternative, perhaps, explanation, giving Bar Kamsa a little bit more credit for realizing that there was something wrong in this, something in the state of something rotten in the state of Denmark. He went about it the wrong way. So I offer that as a possibility.
Okay. Obviously, it's definitely an alternative possibility. Are some holes in this theory as well, because also you called it Sinat Chinam. First, we need to define what does it mean Sinat Chinam, and B, I'm not sure it was Sinat Chinam. The Gemara says Baal Devave. Baal Devave is someone that I hate, not even dislike. Baal Devave is Baal Sin'ah. So it might be Sinat Chinam, but you know what? It might not be Sinat Chinam, because A, we need to define what does it mean Sinat Chinam, and B, I will say it like that. The alternative suggestion that you suggested, alternative explanation, is definitely valid, and I do know some people who explain this story like that, and that's for sure true. I would suggest in a minute that the explanation for the pasuk is very different based on my theory, because we are not sure yet who is the first one. Who is Ashrei Adam Mefachet Tamid? Who is this praiseworthy? Is the man who is always concerned? Who is this? Who is this guy in this story? Makshe libo, we can, I'm going to say it in the last 5 minutes that I have. So we don't, 1 second, let me just finish the Gemara. So the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, we are back to Rabbi Yochanan, in vetanuto של רב זכריה בן אביקלוס, החריבה את ביתנו, שרפה את היכלנו, והגליתנו מארצנו. Rabbi Yochanan says, what is invetanuto? His humility of Rabbi ben Avikalus destroyed our home, burned our sanctuary, and expelled us from our country. Okay, now I am going to stop here for a second and ask you a question. Rabbi Yochanan blames who for the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash? Rabbi ben Avikalus.
Zechariah.
Rabbi ben Avikalus. Not Kamta, not Bar Kamta, not the master of the house, not the Shaliach, not anyone. Rabbi ben Avikalus. Is that fair? Is that fair?
It's not a question of fairness. It's a question of common sense and being afraid to apply common sense.
Okay, so Phil, but I want to ask you a question. When Rabbi ben Avikalus rejected two possibilities of the rabbis, when the rabbi says to him, you know what, let's bring it as a sacrifice, he said no. He says, okay, let's kill Bar Kamta. He said no. The rabbis should have said what?
It's a question of almost pidyon shvuim or safety of life.
No, but more than that. If I have a conversation with you and you say, you know what, I would like to start the shiur at 9:15, and I tell you no, because people would say that the people who attend the Bet Midrash Boker are lazy. And you tell me, okay, you know what, 9:10. And I'm telling you, no, 9:10 is not good because people would say that because of davening, I need to change the time. Okay, what would you say now?
Do A or B.
So give me another option. 9:10 is not good. 9:15 is not good. So 9:05, 9:07, 9:16. So give me another option. 9, it's not going to be. Meaning the rabbis, you have a sacrifice here that was sent by the Roman Caesar. We suggested two options, what to do with the sacrifice or with the emissary. You say no. So if I was the rabbi there and I have a discussion like that with Rabbi ben Avikalus, I will tell him, my dear sage, my dear colleague, okay, you rejected two of my options. I understand why. Okay, your turn to offer. Tell me, okay, how are you going to solve this problem? Because we don't know what happened. My guess is that they didn't bring the sacrifice and they didn't do anything to Bar Kamta. Right? So the Roman Caesar heard that his sacrifice was not brought, A. B, Bar Kamta became a high-profile guy. Why? Because he was right. The Jews rebelled against him. C, my assumption is that the Roman Caesar, when he heard that the Jews rebelled against him, what did he do? What the Roman Caesar will do when he hear that a nation rebels against him, which is sending the troops. So he will send the troops. And then what? Says Rabbi Yochanan, I don't only criticize the rabbis. I criticize Rabbi ben Avikalus because Rabbi ben Avikalus brought to a boiling point the lack of leadership. And when you have lack of leadership, what do you have? Rebellion. You have a chaos. Because what happened after that?
Why does it refer to unvenuto, his humility? Why does it refer to his humility? Why?
Oh, very good.
Why is that relevant?
Okay, very good. Now, go back to the story.
This isn't the only time.
Harold, just one second. I just want just to answer the question. In vetanuto, I translate it as his humility. But sometimes there is what I will call fake humility, that it comes from fear. When I being asked, let's say, to do something with a tremendous historical ramifications, and I say, look, I don't have these wide shoulders. I'm not such a Talmid Chochem. I really cannot take this decision. Maybe there are others who can do it, I can't. What do I do? What do I really say? Ashrei Adam mefached tamid. Praiseworthy is the person who is always concerned. But makshe libo ipol bera'a, I would like to suggest that this entire pasuk is on whom? On Rabbi ben Avikalus. Which means, Rabbi Yochanan says the following, I praise The person is always concerned. Yes, you cannot be so quick or impetuous when it comes to historical decisions. But מקשה ליבו. But what is מקשה ליבו? But when you harden your heart and you say no to everything, and you don't come with any other solution to a problem that will not disappear, we need to face this problem. The Roman Caesar is waiting to hear that the Jews brought that sacrifice. And if not, he's going to go after them. If he doesn't hear it, he's going to destroy us. And if you harden your heart and you don't make the right decision, whatever decision is, bring the sacrifice or kill Bar Kamsa, Ipol Bara'a, you're going to fall in your own trap. Which means, what Rabbi Yochanan, in my theory, is saying, look, I am all in favor of being cautious when you make decisions. Don't be impetuous. Don't be too quick to respond. You need to take your time. You need to be moderate, for sure. But you need to solve the problem. And if you are hardening your heart and pretending that there is humility, you are humble, you can't do it, you leave it for others to make the decision for you, and you will fall into evil. Now, before I will give some comments, I just want to show you, I'll skip a bit just because of time. I want to show you something very interesting here. Take a look. Rashi says, in vetanuto, savlanuto, shesaval et ze velo harago. What is savlanut? Patience. Okay, he was too tolerant of Bar Kamsa and he didn't kill him. So that's not anava like humility, but it's more savlanut. But take a look at Rav Henkin. Rav Henkin says, and I will just read it in English. I hope it will be a good translation here. This is the fear I have, says Rav Henkin, when we reach the 9 days and the 9th of Av. If the temple was destroyed as a result of a specific transgression, we could have hoped that we don't violate it anymore. However, according to the Talmud, the temple was destroyed despite the fact that they learned Torah and performed good deeds. The temple was destroyed as a result of a divide in the leadership and a divide among the nation. The 9th of Av teaches us that Hashem gives us the ability to decide, and we cannot be sure that He will rescue us from making mistakes. This is the harsh lesson, as we like to be sure that our decisions are correct. The verse that Rabbi Yochanan mentioned teaches us that we always need to be concerned about the consequences of our decisions, and we cannot rely on what we learn or specific approach when it comes to a decision that affects the entire Jewish people. This is a very strong and a deep lesson. Basically, the lesson from the Gemara, what Rav Henkin suggests, is the Gemara did not say that the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed because of Sinat Chinam, because they were not Zionist enough, they were too Zionist, they had, I don't know, they didn't give enough tzedakah, they didn't learn enough Torah, they didn't put tefillin, they didn't keep kosher. The Beit HaMikdash was destroyed because of what? Lack of decision. Because of a divide and lack of leadership. And that's what is so scary. Fegi.
Okay. I was just wondering, is it possible that Bar Kamsa, excuse me, had this plan before he went, that somehow or other he managed to get the servant to give him the invitation, and he had planned all along to make some kind of problem there, because knowing the history, knowing the people who are going to be at the dinner, is it possible that he had a plan?
I think it might be a possibility. I think it's connected to one of the options that we mentioned at the beginning of the shiur, that basically Bar Kamsa took the invitation and went to the party. And then we said there are a few options that we can open. A, to create some kind of reconciliation, or to nudge and agitate. He was like an instigator. He said, I know exactly what will happen, So that will be a good reason for me to go to the Roman Caesar and tell him about those rebellious Jews. It might be a possibility for sure. Harold, I put you on hold, so your turn. You need to unmute.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point out that this word invitanuto, this is not the first time that Rabbi Yochanan has used this word. So it's kind of interesting how to reconcile, because obviously there's a famous Pasuk we say every Motzei Shabbat, at least those who say it, that Amar Rav Yochanan b'chol makom shata Motzei gedulato shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Sham ata motzei invitanuto. So in that Pasuk attributed to Rabbi Yochanan, invitanuto, whatever that means, is very positive, represents the greatness. And how do you but here it's kind of, I don't know, how to reconcile. They seem on the surface maybe to have opposite kind of connotations, but maybe not. I don't know. Just kind of a little bit interesting.
No, so Harold, what you said about it's Rabbi Yochanan drasha. It's not a pasuk. So that's his drasha. But the fact that one word has different connotations is not new. And look even at Rashi. Rashi did not say invetanuto tsanua haya, that he was modest. It was savlanut, which is a different thing. So invetanuto, it depends on the context. It might be that Rab Zcharia ben Avikalus used his humility or greatness, and instead of making a decision, he's creating more of a problem. Because basically what he did, he paralyzed the rabbis. The rabbis were willing to make a decision. Let's bring the sacrifice or let's kill Bar Kamsa. Two options. When you think about it, let's think about the dilemma. There is a sacrifice that has a blemish that halachically for us, it's not accepted. It's not acceptable. According to the non-Jews, it's acceptable. What do? We can basically make the emissary Bar Kamsa disappear. Let's kill him. He's a Moisef. Halachically, it will be okay. And the second thing is also halachically will be okay because of what? Because Shlom Malchut. We know that we do many things for Shlom Malchut. So basically, the rabbis suggest two viable options. They are good, halachically permissible. Rab Zcharia ben Avikalus basically says to them, it can lead some people to think that something non-halachic was going on there. Meaning Rab Zcharia ben Avikalus is thinking about what? Future consequences for a decision that will be made now. Now, he is right. He is correct. You never know how future generations are going to interpret what was done in a prior generation. But this is not the question. The question is, what do you do now? You don't know what will be in the future. That's Rabbi Henkin's point. He says, we don't know what will happen in the future. You, first and foremost, need to deal with what? With the present. Now, it's true. Obviously, we understand that everything that you make, any decision that you make now, it will affect the future. But you can't be paralyzed because of the future. And this is something that I think we should think about it, really hard and long and hard, because this is so relevant to our times. And the paralysis sometimes that you can find or feel in the halachic process, which, by the way, it's understandable, but it's a problem. We need to try to find the balance between the needs of the hour and how do we deal with them, how they affect the future, how we try to mitigate any risks for the future, but at the same time, not to be paralyzed to deal with the issues of the day. And this is obviously something that that needs to be dealt with. It is on different levels, not in full speed and not with all the issues, but it's definitely something that can stem from this discussion. Did someone else raise his hand? Yeah, Phil.
I want to thank you for bringing a different interpretation because it applies to our political situation today. We have an Arab population on our borders. Do we just sit or do we kick the can down the road? We don't know. So every government does not want to deal with the problem. And we have that. So here we have a state that says, make a decision and may be wrong. You have to take that risk, but it's better than doing nothing.
And that's, yeah, I mean, it's in the political realm, it's in the religious realm, it's in the societal realm, it's in
Rabbi,
so many.
isn't there still an inconsistency with what you were saying? The original, and I thought it was a very fascinating notion that Rabbi, and I forgot his name, was the rabbi for the Kanaim. So this isn't just a question of paralyzing the decision-making process. In his case, if you take that further, he was intentionally doing that in order to achieve what he wanted. So it's not
Sure. No. I don't think it's contradicting. I think it's complementing it, because by not making a decision and paralyzing the rabbis with the halachic future danger, he basically allows the rebellion to start without pushing, without making a decision. Meaning, yeah, I think it was planned. Now, I don't know if Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shai ben Avikalus, this motivation so much. He stood for quote unquote for halacha. I will not reject the possibility that intentionally he pushed there, but he definitely paralyzed the rabbis. And when you paralyze the rabbis and they cannot stand up for some kind of moderation, so the bullies are going to win. So I'm not sure it's a contradiction. I think it will complement this. I'm making a decision. We will need to conclude now.
Okay,
I'll see you,
a quick technical objection. The Pasuk in Mishlei, you're reading the Pasuk as the first half and the second half refer to the same person. But if you look at the previous few Pasukim in Mishlei, all of them, the first half of the Pasuk is a contradiction, a separate person than the second half of the Pasuk. So we'll be breaking that pattern in the Mishlei.
Okay, so Danny, just a technical answer for the technical question. I would just say that I think that's the chidush of Rabbi Yochanan. Because when Rabbi Yochanan asks what is the meaning, he doesn't need this entire story. The chidush is that both of them apply on the same person. Now we can argue with that, obviously, because the pshat is not like that, but Rabbi Yochanan didn't want the pshat. Rabbi Yochanan, I think, wanted to create a new meaning in the pasuk, and it says both of them apply on the same person. So with that, I wish everyone Yom Tov, and tonight Midrash Shiur is at 8 p.m., not 7:30 p.m. Everyone have a good day.
תודה רבה, צום קל.
תודה גם לכם.
תודה רבה.
We come back and